Ron Mitchell,
Here.
Andrew Jewett,
Here.
Steve Carroll is not going to be with us this evening. Danielle Kraus, let's see if she showed. Catherine Vallon here. Scott Cabbage,
I'm here.
Barb Hart here. Trustee Corvallin, isn't coming yet. Steve Brownford.
Here.
Thank you all.
Are there any questions or comments on the consent agenda this evening? Do we have anyone from the public on? Brenda or no?
I don't see anybody from the public on.
Okay.
So I'm waiting to see if
Hearing no questions or comments on the consent agenda, I would look for a motion to approve.
if we approve the consent agenda. Sure. So that's Scott that second?
It is.
Thank you.
And would you call the roll?
Ron Mitchell,
Here.
Andrew Jewett,
Here.
we're on the consent agenda. There was a motion to approve. And it was seconded.
Second. Yeah, sorry.
Catherine Vallon,
Yes.
Scott Cabbage,
Yes.
Barb Hart,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Great, thank you. If anyone has a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda, please state it now. Hearing and seeing none, I would ask for public comment on non-agenda items. Tom, do you have any public comment? You're the only public.
No.
I guess if there's no other public, I've got a kind of a comment on non-agenda items.
Sure.
It was brought up to me that the dumpsters down by, in between Busey Brewery and the dispensary are kind of an eyesore and on public property, and wondering if there's any if the DDA would consider any beautification project or, other appropriation for a dumpster enclosure, not only, there, but if there's any other dumpsters on town property that are kind of visible and can be seen to get dumpster enclosures.
So maybe I can offer a little clarification. I also talked to the owner of BC Brews, and so while the dumpster is on public land, it's a dumpster that they use amongst the businesses. It is not a town dumpster, and therefore I did encourage him to seek other opportunities. He asked for town to cover the cost of this, and it's not a town dumpster, and so it's not really appropriate for us to get involved financially. But I know that Kyle had mentioned that he would then call Andrew and to chat with Andrew, and that's more context here.
Yep.
I'd like to make a comment on that. There's two of those businesses that have dumpsters on my property, and that will end when pay parking comes in.
Okay, I mean, I guess insofar as, yes, I don't know if the DDA wants to think about if there's dumpsters that are, they're primarily or most not, 100% private use if they're in, on town property and used by town, or not used by town, but seen by everyone through town. I mean, I get Kyle's point. It is definitely, well, it is his use, and he would probably be the, a beneficiary. I think there'd also be a lot of, it would look nicer. But anyways, that was my public comment for non-agenda items. So, all right, thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Now we have informational items. Going with the chair report, it's in the packet. I don't have anything to add to that. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Hearing and seeing none, we have the treasurer's report in the packet. Are there any questions or comments on that? Also not hearing or seeing any executive director report. Kate, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I don't have anything to add. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Town staff report, Miranda.
Nothing to add to the report.
Thank you. Beautification update is in the packet. I just want to say the flowers are looking awesome. I'm loving them. But other than that, I don't have any other comments, but they sure look amazing.
And Judy will probably give an update again next month in person, kind of to tell you more about how things are going. She's working.
Great. Big Springs paving is being scheduled, so nothing there.
What is that? What's happening there with that last stretch of,
The final paving, that's
yeah, is that happening soon?
I think they're talking about the Big Springs parking.
Yeah,
Yes. the Big
that's what I'm
Springs-
talking about.
Big Springs Drive is also happening, but.
No, I'm talking about the parking where there's like that big
Yeah.
metal manhole that's sticking out and there's,
You mean at Back Forest? Or-
yeah, by the by the Net Hub, in front of Net Hub. There's like, it never got, Big Springs parking.
It never got finished where like the handicap
Yeah,
ramp was.
it
and
never got
they have to
finished
finish it.
Yeah.
in front of Net Hub.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, you can't park there because it's like pretty rough.
Yes, we're working on getting it because of all the rain.
Yeah.
It's been found getting scheduled, but yes, we're on,
Cool.
we're a priority. Because they want to finish us up from last year.
Yeah,
Get the last.
otherwise it all looks good, yeah.
Yeah, we're anxious to get that done and no longer have to report.
Yeah.
Be
Check
done.
it off.
Check it off.
Love that.
All right.
Performance space.
I put an update in there. I don't know if Andrew or Tanya want to say anything, but, we're gonna be meeting, after Andrew gets back to kind of discover some more next steps, and I put that all in the report, but we're gonna discuss more questions we still need to answer and everything, so that we're bringing a robust discussion item in August to start talking about, the survey and some initial due diligence.
What
questions.
survey?
What we got from JVA.
Oh, okay.
Performance space,
So
that
the actual
survey,
physical
yeah,
survey.
So that will really dig into that in August is the goal, and we seem to be on track for that. We've been able to get a good amount of information and a lot of questions answered, but always that brings more. So, and I'm sure when we all meet, there'll be more, but what you all had originally discussed wanting for the August discussion, we've been able to get most of that together.
Great, thank you. Miranda, would it be possible to put a survey to the town for both the performance space thought of where we had surveyed and Gersfield?
In terms of what would be the Gershon Field one?
As part of the performance.
Oh, as a
As we
consideration.
Set up, yeah. It seems like it's bigger.
Spaces, like, could we do a town-wide survey and get the buy-in from the event coordinators and other people?
That's
of
part of
what
what
would
The
be,
next steps is.
Yeah, I think we need to have a
Part of the
meeting.
questions
Yeah,
for the committee.
I guess that's what I would do, is have the committee create the survey and then we push it out as this is a
Yeah.
DDA survey.
Okay.
My only thing is I just want to make sure, again, I've always will repeat this, that Nikki is
Yes,
a part of this and I
Yes.
do have.
well, yeah,
Yes.
press out, everybody would have to be part of the discussion, but it seems like it's time to have the discussion.
Yeah.
Right, but I almost would think, yeah, have the discussion and involve those players and then release the survey. I would hate to see
Okay.
a survey go out before Nikki and
Yes.
ProSap are
Okay.
looped into the conversation.
and Nikki.
Further.
Yes, and we have, Nikki was in those conversations. We haven't really met with ProSap too much about this, but that'll be again, another next step. But we were mostly, meeting with JVA just to go over the report because we hadn't digested that with them. And then we did have Nikki join and give us a lot of history as to why town landed on the plan that they did and why Gershio is, in their mind, being used the way that it is with the GoCo grant. So we have that information to give the board in August too, but we imagine that, because there is a lot of questions about why not.
Yeah, a lot of
So
people
we
want
do
Gershio.
imagine that.
Right, it's my understanding though that we haven't yet connected with the project manager for Gershio to see if if the scope can change from what was originally funded.
Yeah, exactly.
Because sometimes with GoCo grants, a lot of times, you have to hold the use for so many years before you. can
What's the use of it right
A
now?
park and open space.
So,
the
I mean,
park.
putting a stage on there isn't that,
Right, but so we originally applied for the grant with the stage and we had to pull it out.
how
So I
come?
want to be really mindful, they
Yeah.
wouldn't fund it. under the
Oh.
resiliency, what the GOCO grant
They
was
wouldn't
at the
fund the
time.
stage.
Correct, we had to
Right.
pull it out. So I want to be really mindful that we don't put ourselves at risk of having to pay back $100,000 because we didn't hold up our end of.
So when
Our
can we meet with that project manager to ask?
We have an email into the project manager. I just don't believe that we've received a response back yet.
And
Okay.
GoCo would be somebody that we would go for to leverage our funding to fund this. So we want to be, well, we all want to be on the same page
Yeah.
and work together about this at first, but it will behoove all of us. So that's why
Yeah.
we're getting all that information so that the board can have a discussion
Sure.
and see, hey, this is where all these planning docs say and point to this is what these documents say. And then, if that next step is to include that question out to everybody, but the event organizer email will go out before August of asking them some questions because we do want to bring that to the board. That was something that.
Yeah. It's just so much smaller is the problem with that other space.
I think there's a good
Granted.
example from last weekend,
Up
Gavin with Ned
Yeah.
Pavel.
Oh, yeah.
Who we, supported that event through the DDA. That event occurred in Gercio Field a year ago, and it occurred in the, I guess the performance.
Oh, you guys
last
did it in
weekend,
that gravel nothing spot? Why?
Because that was.
Because of the reseeding, we can't allow bikes
So
on
the
Gershio right now.
event was permitted and.
Oh my
I was
gosh, I
Told
didn't
that it could
realize.
happen, so I have some great visuals that I can share in our August meeting.
Great, that'd be awesome.
And I know that there's a plan to like potentially change that space.
It would have to get landscaped, obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's me.
It's
But this is good.
for an event that just took place in town that brought plus or minus 1,000 people to Nederland.
Mm-hmm.
It was a different experience, and I wouldn't say.
Did it hold 1,000 people okay, or did it feel crowded?
No,
Small.
I mean, it,
It never looked like it was that crowded, actually.
no, a lot of people just chose not to go over there. I
Mm.
mean, I think if you look at the space, it was.
Well, it's not very
It's a
attractive. at the
very
moment.
different experience than last year. Last year, the stage was set up in an open space that had space to attract people to sit around and enjoy it.
And the stage was set up just on that gravel area.
Facing the reservoir
Mhm.
in a dirt lot, and those people finished the race, ate and left.
How come you guys didn't do it at Chipeta or Chipeta?
It's not,
It's not you,
it's
it's
not-
Gavin, yeah, okay.
so I don't have those answers.
Chipeta, we received a lot of noise complaints at Chipeta when it
So
was.
can't
held.
we use portable stages for events on Gercio now?
Not while the seating is taking.
So
It's
that's,
off limits until maybe end of August, September.
Oh, so next year we.
Right, but right now, while the seating is taking, we can't have any damage to the field.
So there's no reason why we couldn't have a program of music and festivals and all, I mean, no limit to what we could do with the kind of stage that Ron is talking about without building a lot of infrastructure. And maybe that's an opportunity for us to prove to ourselves that we can actually successfully host
that
a
would,
series of shows.
Eldora has that awesome stage, but where would we get one like that and where would we store it?
Other-
Yeah, where we store it. That's,
you
Oh,
can get
your
it
rental.
stuff.
Don't worry.
You don't have to,
Don't worry about that? Okay.
right.
I mean,
No,
Eldora's
I mean,
provided
maybe that's just the way we
stage
wanna
at
go.
Travel 2 years.
There's
Jazz and Wine,
Great option.
Fabulous stage.
We just-
Market, twice a
You
year.
build one, you gotta store it, you gotta maintain it, you gotta insure it, forget it.
And somebody has to manage it and take care of it.
Yes.
Right, so after Gershio is seated, it's not just forever just a park that can't be utilized. That's not the intention, but we cannot allow anything to happen this year because of the seating. Otherwise,
Well,
the seating doesn't
I
work.
can
Right.
see
Just to
putting a portable stage on the west side of the log fence that's there, which would give you more space for people in the park itself, so.
Is the GoCo done now? Like,
Not
it's
yet.
checked off?
Nope.
What's missing?
September 15th, there's still more planting, and then also some additional seed work, I guess, that needs to be done, but on track to have it done in 2 months, but we'll probably cut it right down to the due date of, I think, September 15th.
well, I really appreciate you reaching out to GoCo. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that you all already had this. We didn't ask that, so I really appreciate
We-
you looking at the options.
We did, just because we knew we
We
had to talk with our funder, our project manager anyways about the end.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to ask them
I appreciate
what the
it.
use could be, so that, because last thing we wanted to do is release a survey, and Gershio is not even an option. or whatever.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I appreciate that because we do want to play nice with GoCo.
Yes,
Yeah, for sure.
always.
All right.
Great. The next one is public art, and that is also in the packet. Had a nice talk with Danielle yesterday, and sounds like things are going well there. She had a lot of great ideas. They were meeting last night for a meeting to go over the art day, the Netherland Day of Art. So that sounded really good, and I'm gonna talk with, how many murals? Some
Are
ideas.
complete, 2 or 3?
That we have?
Yeah, from the,
3, the dinosaur, the.
Oh, right.
The one on the feed store.
and then the
Terminal one.
musicians, yeah.
Yeah. And they're working on the picnic table one?
Yes, they're
This
working on the
week.
picnic tables, and
Yeah.
they're also working on our current year one, the plywood
Yeah.
got delivered. And that one, and they're kind of hoping she could be kind of starting during that day when people are walking around, but they don't know for sure, but they just, we're trying to hope to make it a really nice, fun event for.
Yeah, it's pretty
And
cool. We're
I'm
pretty
excited.
This
excited.
afternoon, I kind of got an update or involved in that current mural that Jessica's working on.
Okay, cool.
It doesn't sound like she thought that the space in the community center was gonna work for her.
Okay.
To do what?
To
To
paint.
paint.
She's got 6 4x8 things that need to be up, and I saw a picture where they don't fit in there for her to be able to
Okay.
like actually paint, so.
Okay.
There's potential that we're gonna host that at Eldora and let her
Mhm.
paint in one of our buildings.
That's nice.
That's nice of you, thank you.
It isn't, I haven't met with her yet, but we've said that she can if she wants
Oh,
to.
that's nice, thank you.
So-
How long, what does that process take? Is it, like, time-wise?
Couple weeks, it sounds.
Yeah, a couple of weeks, not too long. It wasn't too long. The intent was to do it inside so that she could do it quickly and just pop it back up. But I'll follow up on that with everyone. It's really hard to do.
Perfect.
How are the
Thanks.
murals for the bridge? How are those coming along?
I think they said that they're gonna be done at the end of August, and they'll be ready to put on when it's ready to have things on it again and not having.
Right.
Awesome. And wayfinding, Steve and Steve have something coming next month for us when they hear back from John Bazio, is that?
Yeah, I think we had a productive day when he was here, going around, looking at sites, hopefully talk through not making some errors along the way to make sure that when we do this, we do it right the first time. Just based on timing of when that happened, we haven't heard back from him yet. But I think next month we should have like maybe a more focused map where we can pull in and show the map and then go back to some of those original kind of design images that we had to say like, well, when this says that this is the type of thing it is, here's an example of what that would be. I think the current map is so big and it's really hard to like look at it and say like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be focused down enough that if we can really focus on phase 1 and the things that we think are going to happen sooner than later, to really be able to like get into some of those details so people can see what is this really going to look like. So
What is phase 1? Is phase 1 defined geographically?
it's just like fewer signs. There's some of it, it's like the core signs that everybody felt like were the most crucial to get up and to use funding on initially. And then some of the other ones, I think there's also some concern that some things may change over time. So maybe some of those signs, as you get further out, there's a 2, a 3, like, is that ever gonna get funded? But at least it's in the plan to be able to say, like, we did not think about it.
Cool.
Yeah, so I think it was great to have him here and.
It was fun.
Yeah. And it's fun to walk around Nederland and see how many empty signposts are around town, like abandoned, like spots where there was a sign there. And whether it's CDOT or somebody else, is like, they put in a bigger sign 20 feet up the road. And they took the sign off and they left an empty post there. You know, I guess it's not the type of thing you notice on a daily basis, but when you walk around with a group and look at signs, so, yeah.
Well, thank you for doing that. I look forward to getting that information from John when he sends it back. We'll get it. I have time to look at it. Visitor Center paving, Miranda.
Yeah, I have everything in the aim, but I'll just do a quick recap. We secured our 3 estimates for the visitor center repaving, have decided to go with Hole and Hearst, which is a company based out of Evergreen. What they're gonna do is they're gonna mill up the visitor center parking lot and replace with 4 inches of asphalt. We're also looking to do an overlay on First Street of 2 inches down to where there was a trench created when we did the power line moving for tip. Sets to do the paving first or second week of August. the biggest thing is moving the EV chargers that are currently in the visitor center lot. The electrician who specializes in EV chargers is able to do that move next week. Does mean though that the EV chargers will be offline intermittently for probably 6 to 8 weeks. So we'll do a post letting people know that there won't be any chargers in public lots available, or at least town-owned public lots, for mid-July until probably end of August.
Is there one at the Presbyterian Church, or did they ever put one in over there? Because I remember when that was a
They got
conversation.
funding, but I don't think it ever happened.
Okay,
So I think,
no,
no.
okay.
So we'll post a map of where people can go to charge. They just won't be able to charge in the visitor center lot. We actually, the visitor center EV charger doesn't even show up on a map, we recently learned. So
It's
for
true.
better or for worse.
It's free, right?
It's free, but we'll let the community know, mainly the community members will send out a blast that says, hey, there won't be any chargers. Then we'll move them to the southwest corner, which is where town staff parking is. We'll remove that town staff parking, turn it into EV parking, and then we'll come to the board with a proposal on starting to charge for
Yes.
EVs. The challenge we actually ran into, so there is power in the southwest corner, not strong enough to run our new level 3s along with the 2.
How you guys put that box?
Yeah, we did. Excel did, but it's not powerful enough. Whole different thing.
Well, they can
So-
come and put a bigger box in.
Correct, they will. So we're gonna move the 2s and then still hold our 3s and install our 3s once Excel comes and upgrades the
So
box.
you need a lot of power to charge a car, I guess. You are aware of Deb's cat thing on the 14th or whatever.
Right, so
You
there's
got,
not a whole lot to do.
but yeah, you can't have it not available for that event. But
Right, we also are contracting with them to finish Big Springs, and
Mhm.
so depending on when they finally narrow in their date, we're gonna decide where they start. Cause we
Yeah.
could have them start in Big Springs, finish up Big Springs Drive, then start down on First Street and start to kind of collapse in, but we just don't know what their schedule is.
yeah,
yet.
I just I don't particularly, it's not part of this event, but it's don't.
Got a contract from Edge, an estimate from Edge, but it was an unrealistic number for town.
But is this something different than what they were contracted for?
No, so we're doing Big Springs Drive in the neighborhood.
Oh,
Finishing out, so Hollenhurst is they're actually doing 3 projects for us. So they're doing visitor center under the DDA funding. They're repaving by the pedestrian bridge where it's just all washed out and just a hot mess over there. So we're gonna have them finish repaving that.
Down that little,
Mhm.
yeah.
Is that
And
what
then-
you're calling the overlay of First Street, or is?
No, I didn't put this in here because this is a town's gonna fund.
Okay.
Town's gonna fund over by the pedestrian bridge, and then we're funding the Big Springs neighborhood.
That's just like a couple hundred feet.
Yeah, under town's asphalt budget. So, but we're gonna have Hollenhurst do it all at one time and then have them bill us separately. So movement, cost for repaving visitor center is 89,640. That overlay is 10,000. DDA has given the town 139,000. So using a large chunk, of course, for the visitor center. And then between the remaining funds that the DDA has given the town plus tips, then we'll work on Jefferson after the sidewalks are built.
Miranda, could you mention again how long that's expected to last, or if the company doing the work has some kind of warranty? How many years was that?
They have a warranty, I think, for 3 years, if I recall correctly. We haven't finished the full contract yet with them. I'm not an expert on asphalt, so I can't say how long. I mean, obviously it gets a lot of wear and tear over there, but what we didn't want to do is just an overlay. We wanted it milled down, and so I think that's a big thing here, because you can just see, patches upon patches and overlay upon overlay. So Mark feels very confident that by grinding it down and starting from scratch, we'll get, that's also what the company recommended.
That's Big Springs.
That all of
All of it
All
was
of
getting remilled. I saw
Well,
visitor center, the.
visitor
Big
center is being
Springs,
remilled,
and
not,
yeah.
we're overlaying from kind of the corner of where Ned's is
Yeah.
to the trench, because that's actually, the asphalt there is fine, it's
Yeah.
actually in good condition. And then Big Springs, we're paving what is unpaved at the end of Big Springs
Okay.
Drive. Up to kind of where it starts to split off to other roads.
How's that transition?
It's a little funky.
Yeah, I don't like that, because like when we hit it now, it's like pretty bad, it's really rough. And now you're gonna have 2 different, well, I guess we'll just wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, they felt very confident and felt very good about the company who came out. The The project manager was great. I mean, yes, it's complicated up there, but we're actually gonna rework the drainage over there too, to help deal with the sediment that's running off into a specific home and some of the other issues over there. So feel really good about this company. I guess, but we'll see.
Yeah,
Right?
we'll
We've
see.
never
Time will
worked with
tell.
them, so, but so far, so good. Yeah, we're moving full steam ahead, but step one is to move the chargers. So again, that's happening next week.
Yay, visitor center. All right. That finishes the end of our informational items, takes us into the action items, and our only action item this evening is the annual board election. Kate, do you want to introduce that?
Per the NDDA bylaws, elections are to be held in July for the following positions for a one-year term: the chair, the vice chair, and the treasurer. Interest has been received in the positions as follows. The interest in chair is Barb Hart and Ron Mitchell, and interest in vice chair is Andrew. Is questions for the board? Who is interested in the position of chair? If there's anybody else, is there anyone else interested in the role of vice chair? Is there anyone interested in the role of treasurer? And then we'll go through and do our elections.
I'm interested in chair. I think I have done a good job of it for the last couple of years since Steve turned it over, and I would be excited to do it again. And I spoke with Andrew as well, and he said he would be happy to be vice chair, and I think we work pretty well together. So I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
I'd like to make a motion to approve
Shows up.
Laura Hart as chair of the NDDA board.
I second that.
How do we do it
I
last?
thought
we
you
voted.
wanna,
Do a vote.
you wanna allow people to nominate though, before
Oh,
a vote
okay.
actually even happens. You wanna allow people to submit,
To a nomination.
submit their interest.
Change it to a.
All right. Help
I
us,
wasn't sure.
Miranda.
And then I think last year, we've done historically, we've always done a secret vote where you either
Yeah.
text
Yep.
or you email us, and we then let you know before the meeting.
The agenda going, okay, I think we're at that part.
Fair. Yeah, so I think the question is, anyone else interested?
Okay, sure.
Okay, and so do we need a second, or is it,
No.
okay, well, we'll put it in the notes that Scott was seconding that. And then is anyone else interested in the role of chair?
Well, I can nominate Ron since he's expressed interest.
Okay. And do we want to do it roll by roll, or should we do,
I would.
yeah?
Well, I think,
let's keep
I
it-
think get all the nominations out, and then when
Get all
people
the
vote,
nominations.
they'll list who they want for chair, vice chair, treasurer.
Okay, okay. So does anybody?
Think about it.
Not how the BOT does it though. BOT does it around the circle and says, I nominate someone, and then somebody seconds it, and then that's how it's moved forward.
That's for
Uh,
advisory boards and commission,
We don't have this in the BOT.
not necessarily
Oh,
for
for the-
chairs.
Okay,
And they only nominate the mayor pro tem.
that might be.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's up to you. I think you could do it either way. You could take them one at a
Is there
time.
nobody who wants to be treasurer? I don't want to do it. I'm just like, no, I'm just like, what would happen if nobody did it? Who would do it?
I've said if nobody will run for any of them, if there's an opening, I'll run for it, but
No.
that's
I'm
not
dying.
my dream right now. So,
We
but
appreciate
so,
your.
so if we get to a point where we say there's a role that won't be filled, if someone will nominate me for it, I'll do it.
Thank you. Thank you for being open to that.
So do you want to do one by one, because that was determined?
We
It makes
could.
sense to do it one by one, because then
Yeah,
it
okay,
might open
That's
another
fine.
position to somebody who's interested in this, but could be interested in that.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the question though, is the board wanting to do an oral vote, which is typically how other boards do it, but the DDA has always been silent vote.
No,
I'm fine with them.
No to
we just what we've done before.
the silent vote. Where you email or you text it.
I'm sorry.
So you would email or text
Technically, but
and Kate,
So that'd
so
be
we
fair.
can cross compare.
You're gonna have to give out your numbers.
Ooh, fair enough.
I get an email. I'll do the email.
if you, Catherine, if you want my number, it's 720
Let's see that.
to you, Miranda?
Yes, and to Kate.
412
Hang on, so
So that's fine.
still getting there. 720.
Yep, 412-3990. Okay,
And
Let me
then,
know when you're ready for mine.
yes,
Is the text the preferred, is that what we're doing? Not even?
Well, I
We
emailed,
don't care.
either.
We're fine either
Okay.
way.
We just need something.
I just
so
had
it-
And
email.
Andrew, I'm gonna forward yours on to Kate. Cause I think it just came to me.
Okay, thank you.
yep.
And I am interested in remaining or running again for vice chair for all those.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah.
No, are we doing just the chair? or are
We're
we
just
doing
doing the chair.
That's the
Just chair
chair
right
at the moment.
Just chair.
Like, we don't have to just send it to both of you or.
You can just do it forward. Catherine to me. If you you texted.
I haven't gotten it from you yet.
You haven't?
No. Let me check and see if it went to an unknown sender or something.
720-412-3990.
412-3990.
Are you emailing?
I emailed, yeah, hopefully,
It just takes a minute in this room.
yeah.
Okay, let
In
me,
this building.
we'll let you send and receive that.
303 350 7192.
2335071.
My email said that it was sent, but
I feel like the
probably-
last
it's in-
time you emailed me that went
it's
to
in your
the
spam.
town clerk. It's in my spam. I remember.
Oh,
there it is.
Been this
Okay.
week.
Oh my, that's just, we did that social media post because we were like, enough already.
Yeah, it has felt,
It's awful.
It's-
It's happening to you too, right?
yeah, well, yeah, 'cause I'm like, I might, is no one reading? Like, I know people are busy, but what's going on?
What are you talking about?
Our emails.
Oh,
You also waiting for us to vote for Andrew?
no.
Not yet.
Not yet, we're just doing chair first.
I just forwarded it on to you. It's, hopefully
Got it.
going a long way around the planet.
Yeah.
And I'm now gonna text you. I just texted you at my break.
Yep, I have the same thing.
Okay,
All right.
I'll let you.
All right, so it was split 4-3, and the chair will be Ron Mitchell. All right,
Thank you very much.
All right, Ron. You're a great treasurer though, so now what are we gonna do?
Steve, I can look.
You can help him? I would do it, but I'm not good with numbers.
it's making my dreams come true.
Better than I am.
Yeah.
Would you say bacon?
Well, I
would be
could
That's
good?
just making my dreams.
make it easy for whoever wants to be treasurer. We've got the QuickBooks system in the reports now, and I feel like that helps things,
Okay.
but, anywho, okay, so now we're going to vice chair, and is there anybody, so does anybody have anybody to nominate for vice chair? Is that the way to ask this?
Yeah.
Nominate Andrew Duar.
Okay. Is there anybody else that's?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if no one else is interested, then how do
I
we?
think it's just a thing.
Yeah.
I think it just happened.
Yeah, but
You win.
No silent vote needed.
we're very excited, Andrew. All right,
Thank you.
all right, so Andrew will be vice chair moving forward, and now for treasurer. Is there anybody that's interested in nominating, or is anybody interested in being treasurer?
Nominate
Draw.
Steve Roundtree. Sounds excited.
Oh my goodness.
There we go.
Who else? Who else?
Second, if you need one.
Okay, so I will note that votes Ron nominated, Steve Roundtree. Is anybody else? Okay, then I guess it's a thing.
Thing.
Thank you.
Scott, I thought you'd been angling for that. No?
Got his head down.
Who?
Someone.
Well, I appreciate it, Steve. Thank you.
Yep.
And we'll. Okay, so, all right. Now, do we need motions on each of those and that's the next steps, right?
I would just.
I was gonna say to make
clean.
it clean. Okay.
Make it clean, but I think you can do it as one group
One big
motion
one,
now.
okay. So I would just say, motion to approve. So we need a motion and somebody to say to approve Ron Mitchell as chair.
Nine, technically you already kind of did that. Is everyone comfortable? Do you feel like the record reflects what you just decided on, that Ron is chair, Andrew's vice chair, Steve treasurer?
I think so.
Yeah. I think your minutes are.
Yeah, I mean, my minutes are
Yeah.
clean. It's just that makes
Yeah.
it even more clean, but if everybody feels comfortable, then I feel comfortable that I have.
I could make a motion that Ron is the
And there was a vote.
chair,
Yeah,
Andrew Durar is the vice chair, and Steve Roundtree is the treasurer. Anyone a second?
Okay. Is there a second?
Second that, although I'm part of the.
Andrew.
And it's Dewart.
Dewart. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. I am in Quebec, so there's
Well,
kind of a
gee.
French.
That's the French
Yeah.
stuff.
That's where the handout happens.
Oh, it happens in.
Effective
Okay,
immediately.
that's what I wasn't sure.
Unless the
We were
board
handing
is.
it to Nicole next anyways,
Yes.
but.
And now kind of be.
Yeah.
We're just flying by the seat of our
Yeah.
pants today.
Winging it.
All right.
Unique room setup. That's what best.
So what we'll need to, so Ron, you need to call for the second, and then he needs to call for the vote, right? Because somebody did Tanya put out a first.
I put it first,
Yeah,
Andrew
I
put
feel like
it
we just-
second.
Then I'll drop it. You
Dewar.
just said
Yeah.
that was why I was.
You already voted your chair. You know that Andrew and Steve are your vice chair and treasurer. I think it's just noted for the record. That is the new board. That's the new chair
Could
seat.
read Chris Kelly's.
Okay, so then Ron is who would call.
We should read his other
article
article.
now, basically.
Yeah.
His AI.
Next. Are you ready to
Are you
take over
ready,
as
Ron?
chair?
Okay.
Great. So I think, Ron, whenever you're ready to move on to the next agenda item.
I want Barbara to finish the meeting.
We're done, we're going on to what would have been Nicole, so I thought that was the major part of the meeting, and now we're moving into the.
Yes, so now.
Did you
And I-
Strategic planning.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think there was
Let me go
more.
over my aim.
Do we close the official meeting? No, because it's still a work session, but it's a work session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do I have to leave?
No.
no, it's a work session. It's an open work session. I'm just saying, I think that the actual meeting itself was over.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can call for adjournment if you want the official meeting to be over. Are there any decisions gonna be made under this work session?
No, it's
Then I
just
would
a-
call to adjourn the regular meeting and
Okay.
move into a work session.
Call.
I moved to adjourn the regular meeting, and move it to a work session.
That seems more logical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so then, okay.
Does anyone opposed to the adjournment?
We adjourn.
All right, do you want to go through your
Sure.
now?
So I think everyone knows why Nicole's not here, right? Do I need to go over? Nicole's sick. Nicole has a cold or something. She sounded awful last night and it's just taking a turn for the worse. So we're switching gears here.
Yeah, must have made a motion to adjourn, when she was so sick.
I know it was, yeah. So she's very sorry. She extends her apologies. This is unfortunately the second time and not her goal, but we felt like it was better to not have her push herself. And we could work on, but there's still things we can do tonight. So we'd like to do those. obviously the DDA wants to talk about goals, but I think really it's important to revisit your master plan in the first place and really evaluate where does the DDA stand with regards to the master plan. Mayor Billy and I recently attended the Colorado Municipal League Conference, and we ran into Kat Carell, who is the executive director of Downtown Colorado Incorporated. The town of Nederland and the DDA are members of DCI, and so we just kind of told her that you all wanted to do some goal sessions and how could DCI best support. So DCI, they don't have any availability until the end of this year or early next year to come in and help, but they recommended that the DDA focus on reviewing the town's vision document, the plan of development, and the board's priority areas. And then from there, they are offering to come in for a fee, 15 to 20,000, to come in to help kind of frame out how to assess the financial components behind each one of your respective goals. You don't have to do that, and that's not really the ask tonight. It's just information for the DDA to consider. But I think step one in this process is to reevaluate where we've been, where we are, and then start that conversation about where we want to go. So turn it over to Kate to take us there.
So I threw together a PowerPoint this morning just to kind of try to help guide the conversation a little bit. And just to throw out the way that the strategic plan is drafted. And so it's got two buckets, basically. It has the capital projects, and then it has the district programs. And I think let's just talk about district programs first. So that's beautification. And public art falls under beautification as well. So it's not just all the plantings and the weeding, it's taking care of those things. And in fact, we're talking about dumpsters. That is one of the things that they do talk about in the plan is, creating stuff art around those situations and in that. So we do, this is a really well thought out plan that they put a lot of work into it. And there are a lot of grants described through there. I'm sure you saw as you went through there. But so you're working really well annually on these district programs, and then your downtown circulation, which is wayfinding. So you are working on that one hardcore right now and getting that. Next for district programming, you have downtown events and programming. And that's where your special events grants and the traffic and safety sort of, but that also goes into downtown circulation, I feel. But that's where your funding, aligns with those areas. Another area that's called out in district programming is downtown business services. And I know in the past, before Front Range took some of it, I know that there used to be more classes that would happen and other ways like small business incubator type more programs that the DDA was working on, but then there was kind of a move away from that. But I just wanted to bring it up that is something that is in your plan, that if there was a desire from anyone, that is something that we could revisit. So those are your district programming, and that's the stuff, we're more doing annually. Now for capital projects, what's in the plan that's been pulled out, they have, they're large titles with several things underneath them. So we can go through those if people want, or don't have to. It's up to the group. But we have the Flex Street commercial area. I will say, what I'm doing tonight is not necessarily what Nicole was going to do. I'm just going to walk through the plan with us and try to get you all to kind of just pick some big buckets and see where you're going and see if you feel like you're on the right path. That was really my goal for this tonight, because I think that sets up everything else, and that sets up our budget conversation. So capital projects, you have the First Street commercial area, and there's several things rolled up in that are lined up in the downtown development master plan. There's also the Highway 72 South commercial area. And then there's the Jefferson Street commercial area, and I highlighted that because we did approve grant funding to help pave part of Jefferson Street in that. And so I have found that, especially since my time the last few years, when town is coming to us with grants, it is with this document in mind. You're able to point to this and say where it goes in. And so we are leveraging funding in those areas to get at some of these, but we haven't kind of gone whole hog on anything other than the Highway 72 South area. That's where we did Big Springs is technically in there. That Big Springs parking is technically part of that part of the plan. There's also the 2nd Street corridor. Now you've also, for this past year, the Middle Boulder Creek River Walk and 2nd River Crossing. Now I think the 2nd River Crossing conversation has changed a little bit, but the River Walk conversation and what's in here is still germane. And then there's the Barker Meadow Amphitheater, which is what's pointed to in here, which is now we're calling the performance space project. So again, those are asterisks because those are where you're currently, in line. So
That's not what she's talking about.
Well, I was like, what slide are you on?
it was still just on that.
Oh.
first.
You were on that one, yeah.
Yeah, just a very.
She's
first-
going down the
Oh,
capital
okay.
project, yeah.
I just started on on the opposite side because it kind of felt like it made a little bit more sense. But
Okay.
so I think, for me, what I'm.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just, I realize I don't have a laptop, but I don't see any slides or.
Sorry, Andrew, I'm not sharing on WebEx. Hold
Oh,
on. I can fix that.
okay.
Sorry about that.
That's
Yeah,
all right.
sorry.
That would help. Thank you. If you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it would.
for sure. There you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So I just kind of wanted to give you the big picture and show you where you have been spending money and that you have been working in your plan and that you do stay within your plan goals. And so I think it's how much you want to continue that. And some of this is not a question necessarily for tonight, but to have you start thinking about tonight as it informs when we start budget next month with like, how much do you want to fund these things? When I give you the reports of where we are to date of spending, so that you can see, how much we're spending in 7 months into the year, et cetera. But it's meant to inform that. And so let's go on to the next slide now. So I want to know, what do you think we should do for the next 5 years? And that's really not meant to be very hem us in. It's just more to get us thinking broadly, past just this budget cycle and just being, in this, where I do think that you are, by picking what we showed last year, you did kind of say, hey, we're looking at these two big things in our plan that we haven't really dug that much into, Riverwalk and the performance space. And so do you think you might want to continue doing that, or, is that not where the board feels like it needs to be? So what I want you to consider is, the different things that are out there, like wayfinding phase 2. Is that something you might want to move right into, or is that something that you want to wait a little bit for?
Well, what is that gonna be? I mean, aren't we gonna be done with all the signs in the app when we're done with all this?
Well, that's phase 1. So there's.
What else could we do?
So that's
It's-
what.
There's additional signs, like kind of going
Okay,
further.
I see.
There's a lot of stuff that initially it was like, well, there's a sign there.
Right.
So at some point, is it like, is the goal that the signs are like consistent? Or are people happy that there's a sign that's 20 years old and a different style sign? And like, so I think like, as you look at that phase 1 and then going
I
out,
see.
that's what it's like. Maybe if people say like, hey, that's great, those really work well, then should we continue?
Gotcha.
Because there's stuff that went all the way out that's, I think, pushed into like phase 3, that's like towards Mud Lake.
All the
Is that-
trails.
Is that
All the
like
trails,
core, but is that like a, somebody coming to visit Nederland, like that's a component of them?
It would be nice to have it on the app, of course, yeah.
So,
Okay, should we just go around the table or what do we?
Just
what's-
one second, let me just
Oh,
finish this
okay.
real fast, because I just wanted, so that I feel like I've said everything I want to get out of my brain. So, and then, so like I said, the continuing, consider continuing moving forward with performance-based, continuing working on Riverwalk. Keep consistent with the district programming that we've been doing for the last few years. Again, that's part of things.
Do you want to have it, or are you going to have a discussion of proposed projects like what Andrew brought up?
So yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's what I want to know is, of those big buckets, go back to that first thing.
Yep.
Sorry. One about to see my pencil there.
What did Andrew bring up? Because I walked in late.
dumpsters, like dumpster, like.
That would be like us.
How ugly they are.
Yeah.
Dumpsters are on
Wait for
public
us,
property.
Shopping center.
I want to augment that. I'd like to see a sanitation district on First Street and try and make it a cost. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just can't hear you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Lots of people talking out. Swear.
I agree with
They're
you.
just not public dumpsters. They're on public lots, but they're not public dumpsters. We don't take care of them.
Gotcha.
And we have trash trucks running around blocking up traffic, having a hard time getting to dumpsters, cars are in the way. If there would be a way for us to consider a single location for recycling cardboard, where everybody put the cardboard in a baler and we sold it. I'd like to see some revenue producing projects. I really feel we need to work somehow to find some projects that they may be capital intensive, but they provide a return to the DDA as opposed to a total financial drain. Not that those aren't good projects and we shouldn't continue them. I just think we need to look at some projects that service the area of the DDA and get as close to cost neutral as possible. If they have some, because that dumpster situation that Andrew brought up is a mess. And the two people that I help, one is Rustic Moose and the other is the co-op. So I would like to throw something onto the agenda of a consideration for a DDA getting somewhat into the business of helping the businesses with recycling and sanitation.
Kate, have you finished what you wanted to?
Yes. I'm just, since this wasn't original, I just kind of like, I really just wanted us to dig into this together, really start to think. And really to buy as a group, as this board and our new, what kind of things you want to prioritize for the next few years.
Well, what I could tell you, I've done a few sessions with Nicole now, and what she does is just lets it be free flowing.
Yeah.
Spitball ideas, throw it all out there, and then when we bring her back, then we start to work through how do you prioritize them. So I would argue in an effort to save us from that initial session, you allow this to just be open,
Okay, so
free
put the
flowing.
sanitation.
Any and every idea you can think of.
I have revenue
So,
produced.
so
Is it-
can I, sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt, but Miranda, I think that's good. And just so I can help maybe kind of facilitate the next stream of dialogue, I think if we're all able to, think about things that we don't want to spend tons of time on, but are, new ideas. Scott and I mentioned and discussed like a summer concert series that I think I'd like to add to the list that may be a stepping stone for, a future performance space, whether it's portable stage at Gercio after the grass seeding takes place or somewhere else, the current proposed space or somewhere even a third or fourth space where, this summer summer concert series might be a seed project where we allocate a budget, and kind of do a Thursday night or whatever night, pick your night of the week, every week or every other week in the summer. Fund an organization that's able to hire and administer a decent size, local and regional artists, and bring them to Nederland, and out of that network then are able to really justify growing into an actual performance space. Because Steve, I heard somewhat of what you were saying with the kind of feedback or what happened with something that was trying to happen at that the current proposed location, and I'm guessing that was about the Ned gravel. Is that right?
Yeah, it was last weekend, and
Yeah.
I think overall the event was a success. It was just a very different experience in its current state. And I know that it's not the long-term plan for Gercio to not be available.
Right.
I think, it's interesting because we talk about like a concert series. There's people in town who are really active with trying to make things like that happen. But then, and I'm trying to be, Gavin speaks for Ned Gravel, so I'm just like speaking to the experience that I had, being part of an organization that also supported Ned Gravel financially, to look at what our experience, what we got for bringing a stage and a brand activation. And it was a very different space that all of our stuff was in this year versus last year.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think the weather was nicer, but that space was tricky and kind of tucked away. And it felt a little bit like we were having an event in a bit of a wasteland.
Yeah.
Right.
And with Eldora being like a key, economic engine of Nederland and key partner. I mean, that's like critical feedback, and one of, several pieces of feedback I think we need, that would help springboard, a concert series, because just you have that information and those relationships, and can, help help guide.
And I think this is good dialogue, because it also, like, that we've got the performance space on here. And I think it's figuring out, like, what's the DDA's role as it relates to a project like the performance space. And it feels like a lot of times, in my experience so far on the DDA board, we're kind of when people have great ideas that make it far enough and there's energy and support, they come to the DDA to fund them.
Yeah.
Right?
Because we have money.
Sometimes
Because-
even before.
Yeah,
Support.
we have money, and like looking to be part of that support and seeing, is there that viable financial reality that we could move something forward? And I feel like the performance space, we've maybe gone the opposite direction with it, where we're proactively funding a study to say, is this vision that's kind of come up about a performance space? I feel like the DDA is kind of pushing something along. But my question on that one is, like, yeah, I think Nederland needs that.
But we don't know where yet.
Yeah, and is it the right space? And are we the board to be pushing forward this space when we're not, like, whose space is it?
Sab's kind of in charge.
Yeah,
But
like,
they're not taking the initiative on it. And
But-
so should we put that
Yeah,
also in their court? But they might say we don't have time for it.
yeah, so I guess that's kind of that question, is like, and I guess it's not always gonna happen the same way, but it feels a little tricky. It's that idea of, like, whether the term is staying in the right lane or like checking our blind spots before we do stuff. But we're going and spending money to assess the viability of doing something in a space that's controlled by someone else,
True.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we had to
Seems simple to
do
me.
it.
We get an agreement, an IGA with that entity
Process.
as to who's gonna do it.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it's with the town of Nederland. ProSab is an
Yeah.
advisory board to the board of
Right.
trustees. What I would say is ProSab did identify it as a goal, but to Tanya's point, it didn't rise to their number one. They felt like
Okay.
they had other.
It's not even on their list.
It is on their list. It's
Okay.
not-
But it's not like.
But it's on our list.
Tips
Oh, yeah.
often fund performance spaces.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about bringing it, if you put it in
Money.
the district, so.
And
there
I
is-
agree with funding it.
Yeah.
I'm just like trying to talk through
No,
the,
I hear you. Yeah, like why are we?
I'm trying to
going
make
back
sure
door?
that I understand the way that we're doing it, to say, like, are we gonna spend, what, 10, 15,000 that we've approved to spend with JVA on it?
We already did it. We already spent
Yeah.
it.
No, well, I think we're only
How
up
much
to,
was it?
I think we're at, what, 1,500 or 2,000 out of that, and
They charged us?
Well, no, right now, as of, if you look in your warrants, we cut them a check for 3,100 this month or something like that. So we're about 4,000 in with
Okay.
them, but we're pretty much done.
Well,
We finally did the work.
But we're doing everybody a favor, because this had to happen initially anyway. Like for anybody, even ProSab to take it over, so
Can I throw something on the table? So when Andrew and I talked about.
let's go back to that.
Andrew, you correct me if I'm wrong. This is Scott.
yeah, high school.
What we talked about was, this started out as a project, to Steve's point, let's take some money and build some infrastructure, and we don't know what we're gonna do with it. We just envision that it's gonna be a performance space. But we didn't talk at all about, as you say, blind spot. Who's gonna manage it? What are we gonna do with it? Is it gonna be revenue producing? How are we gonna maintain it? Why are we building it in a floodplain? All of these questions, and there's another 20 or 30 or 100 questions that should be asked. And as we talked about that, we came up with a concept of, maybe we should figure out what we really want to do with it by practicing for a year or two with a rented stage on a different space.
I love this idea.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What we should do is figure out if we want to be in the business of providing entertainment for our community. And if we do, we have to know that this is not something you do with a Cub Scout group on the weekends. This is, we should do it professionally.
It'll become a part-time job for somebody.
Well, and we should spend enough money to get it done professionally and get good at it. And through that process, we will come to a lot better understanding of what we think we need for infrastructure and where it should really be to best serve the community. Andrew, am I still on target with what you and I talked about?
Yeah, and I think there is also, just I think a need to honor or go through an exercise that town, previous board members, previous boards, and Envision Plan had hired Frischetti to do a sketch and rendering that ultimately, kind of depicted a space that graphically may, be different than what it really is. Geographically, so to speak, like the Frischetti, rendering and plan and concept kind of, you know, were, I think, a different, there was like a political inertia attached to, in my opinion, attached to the previous, desire to have this kind of tucked away in that, what as Steve recalled, and I'd agree, it's a wasteland. And it's adjacent to, the propane facility in the city of Boulder. And it's a very, very hairy site with the floodplain, as you mentioned, which takes up 2/3 of it. And I really, was kind of the mind that this was kind of an exercise that we needed to at least publicly display where the floodplain was and what the limits and restrictions were on construction, let alone parking, et cetera. But there was some political inertia related to electrical infrastructure and bathrooms that I think I believe in my own head. I've I, I don't have any hope, desire, dreams to locate a performance space there, and I would really love, more input after we discover and maybe a summer concert series is
Yeah.
that practice, and saying, okay, once there's the people and the personnel and the relationship with the artists and the managers, then they say, hey, we're musician, booking people, and this is where we think you guys need to have, if you do want festivals or shows or,
Yeah.
things on the weekend, this is where we think they should go. And maybe there's a couple different spots, and then out of that, the dialogue can come back to, okay, there, then there's some people who are actually vested and able to do it, like, instead of putting, as Steve said, going the other direction and just saying, here's the performance space, like, have at it, like, who's going to do that?
I like your logic.
So, we have a history of looking at what somebody else has drawn out or what they proposed at what point in time, 5,
And
8, 20 years ago, and people get attached to these ideas and say, what happened to that? Why aren't we doing that? And I would urge this group to think critically and diligently about whether or not something is a good idea. Just because somebody thought it was a cool idea and they drew it up 10 years ago, doesn't mean it was ever a good idea. And we need to make hard decisions and ask hard questions, especially before we go. Because you don't. We can do a program for a summer or 2 or 3 summers and discontinue it and learn a hell of a lot along the way. But we don't want to go out and build something and then realize it was a mistake.
Yeah, I would like to inject here just the basic background and philosophy of DDAs. We are supposed to consider projects that do 2 things: increase values and revenues. And I would like to have everybody else, you're doing what Scott suggests in terms of analysis, is look at projects that produce revenue. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to invest our money in things that raise values and produce revenue.
look, we know festivals produce lots of revenue.
We do, and I think.
Well, it depends.
But
We've
where?
had festivals that don't.
Yes,
Like which one?
Oh, well, there was a festival that was here for 20 years that was infamous for not doing enough for the business.
That fest?
Yeah, no, the Frozen Dead Guy Fest.
Oh, But a lot of the businesses made a lot of money.
A lot of them did not, too.
Yes, over there by the,
And so what I'm saying is,
yeah,
when we do,
yeah,
that was a festival.
yeah.
Now, it doesn't matter if it's a Frozen Dead Guy Festival, or if it's a music festival, or an art festival, but we have to be more diligent about and learn along the way and apply our learnings so that we're actually doing things that help the community instead of just doing things because they seem cool and somebody pushed hard enough with a personality, because that happens a lot. We're better now. We can be better.
See,
Ron, can I offer this? I just want to be mindful of time, and I think the one challenge you're gonna have is if you want to talk through each goal, it's gonna take up a lot of time.
Yeah.
Maybe one
You just
suggestion
should brainstorm.
was that everyone, so what we did in all the other boards, is like you just went around and you shared your idea. When it didn't necessarily, wasn't up for debate or discussion, you just said it. And you kept going around until everyone ran out of ideas. And I
Okay.
just want to throw that out there for consideration. And then we dive into these more the next time we get together and do this. But for now, you just like put them all out there.
So what I have for you, and it's kind of your umbrella of, you want more revenue generating ideas, projects that are.
yeah, let's just do that.
But I think we want specific projects, not larger concepts. So maybe, so Ron said assist businesses with recycling and
Yeah,
trash. Andrew said summer
okay.
concert series.
Okay.
I'm gonna pop it over to Barb. Just spit out a project you'd like
Only
to
thing I'm
see.
interested in is Riverwalk.
Riverwalk.
That's all I've got time for.
And we
I-
can get to
Can I
the
toss in
talking.
another then?
We're going around in a circle. You have to
Okay.
wait your turn.
I will.
Steve, Steve, what comes to mind?
I don't have anything new to add to this list right now.
Do you want to highlight something on the list? For this new list we're building?
Yeah, no, I do think that this idea around events, whether it's a performance space, but I think that events bring a lot of positive visitation to town. And I really think that, I don't know, I see Nederland as a tourist town, and sometimes it's a really great tourist destination and sometimes things don't function well. And I think trying to figure out how we can look at examples of events that are occurring that are really positive, and how can we help and encourage the people that are putting energy into putting those on to make it easier for them to do what they want to do, which is, there's a lot of energy in town, whether it's Ned Gravel or Ned Jazz and Wine.
Mhm.
There's some examples of events that bring a lot of people to town in a fairly positive way that I think we can leverage the DDA to try to facilitate that those are easier to put on at a higher rate of occurrence.
Do you think we should increase our grants that we do?
I mean,
Since we
that's,
were thinking we were gonna run out and then we started to pull back on
yeah, I
being
think
generous?
that could be one thing, is like not looking at, I think there was an attempt to say like, nope, everybody gets the same.
Yeah,
I don't think all of these events are the same, and I don't think that they all have the same impact to town. And I think when we have some events that have a proven track record of what they bring to town, maybe we shouldn't handcuff them with the same thing as a new event that maybe isn't gonna do much.
I agree. I think we just got scared that we thought we were gonna run
Yeah,
out
yeah.
of money because
But
of
that's,
the netter, took out such a big chunk. And then after that,
yeah,
somebody else came and asked for like 5,000 or 6,000. And we're like, whoa. And then, so yeah,
but maybe there's an opportunity for us to like do a recap kind of thing
Yeah.
too. So I don't know, I really think that like, it's the reason that I wanted to like ask some questions around the performance space. It's also like, I think I have some confusion around like I go into that space and there's this power shed that like, I had our master electrician come down last year, the first time we participated in Ned Gravel, and he looked at it and was like, this is amazing, right?
yeah.
But then you go to Chipeta Park and you can plug an extension cord in if you unplug the water fountain.
So we need to increase the electricity
Right? So
to
like, yeah, you just
Chipeta.
look at that.
Yeah, how's Stephanie gonna do that for Jazz? She worked it last year, but she must have
Yeah.
brought in generators or.
Eldora brought our generator.
Yeah, so that should maybe could be something on our list to increase the electricity at.
So it feels a little bit like, you know.
Steve, can I just add maybe, because this is something that I thought of and had noticed in another.
The popcorn.
Oh, sorry.
So that was my thing. I think there's a lot of meat on the idea around events and performance space and how that can drive some really positive things in Nederland, and I'll leave it at that.
Andrew, are you okay if we keep the popcorning running?
Yeah,
We
sure.
can
Yeah.
come back, just I want everyone to have their first opportunity.
I think we have a lot of projects, capital projects, and a lot of ideas on the table. I think my idea would be for us to be simply as a group to be, we have to brainstorm, but then we have to be more critical about what we really want to do, what we really want out of something, how we're really going to do it, how it works best, and learn from mistakes so that we're not, you don't get every chance in the world to keep making a first impression with your people who come to town. Let's do things right, learn from our mistakes and continue to improve and really be diligent about the way we're going to do, whether it's events or it's going to be building infrastructure.
So are you looking for more of a system in place for how you evaluate projects?
I'm looking for more rigor from this group before they start giving out money to events to ask questions. What do you want to do? And I don't mean we're telling people they can't do things. I mean, we should invest our talents and our skill and our knowledge in it more. If they're asking for money, we should be challenging people to do something well.
So are you saying like an effective vetting process?
In a way, but Andrew and I we've gone through several meetings in the past 6 to 12 months of talking about performance-based. That's just one example. But if we want to talk about all the events that come to us and say, gotta have $4,000, no, we'll give you $2,000. Well, you're right. They're not all of the same value to town. The other side of me says, well, you know what, this is like seed money for the first time around. But after how many iterations should your festival actually be able to support itself? Or is this an amenity that we're doing? Are we throwing a party for people to show up and we're supporting it? And it doesn't do what you said it was going to do when you started this process.
Wait, I don't know if it's true, but one of the big complaints is that Nederland charges too much between all the different fees, that it's prohibitive for events to want to come here. So this was the idea, we're offsetting that, but I don't know, I don't do events, so I don't know if that's true or not.
That's way down in the weeds, but that's the kind of diligence that we should give to this whole process, right?
I think some of that is just the reality of 10 years ago, the expectation of like traffic control was pretty minimal.
Yeah.
And now the expectation of traffic, and it's needed for an
Yeah,
event, right? Town's busier.
Yeah.
And then the actual cost for traffic control, that's probably one of the biggest costs, right?
Yeah, that is.
And I would challenge somebody who wants to come here with a festival or a show or a party or whatever it is, a sledding event or a woodcutting event. Is your event going to generate some revenue, or is it a party you want to throw and you want the DDA to support it?
Right.
Now, let's be honest about it. Just tell us what it is. And let's make real decisions. And then let's back up what we decide by saying, you know what, we think your thing sounds fun, but I can't realistically see where the event you're describing is going to do what you say it's going to do for town on a repeating business. And so, how can we help you put on a good event without supporting it financially? If somebody can't come and say, this is really going to generate revenue for the businesses, then we're not in that business.
Oh, I hear you. I guess, yeah.
Catherine, what are your thoughts?
Kind of enlarging on some things that got brushed kind of on and a little bit past is we only get pretty much one chance to make a first impression. And I have had friends and family that have come from Gilpin County or else had come from down in Arvada, different places like that to go to events and got stuck in a traffic jam that was past Magnolia Road and spent 45 minutes, an hour and a half before just turning around and skipping because it wasn't worth it to them anymore. They were frustrated and hungry and had to pee and stuff like that. And so unless or until we can put some real serious time and attention into the infrastructure of having some way to alleviate the bottleneck of our one road that people can get from side A to side B in town. So if even if only first responders can use one way and only locals know about the other way, at least it takes quite a few people out of line in traffic I mean, even just for some reason, sometimes when they're just doing paving in town, for me to get to work on time, maybe it's better for me to go down Lakeview, Valley View and come in that
Yeah,
way than it is for me to sit for 30 minutes and miss my first patient, although they're probably stuck in line behind me. But they might have come from the other direction and they might be ahead of me in line. And so we have some real problems there that give people a black eye and give them the impression that if they were gonna try and drive the whole peak to peak and have lunch in Nederland, that they ended up, deciding to reroute, just go down, turn around, go down Bull Creek Canyon and cut the other half of the trip out. Because they can't get through Nederland. We have a festival, or we have some paving.
Leaf peeping.
Or we've got any other event in town. And so that's a black eye every time that happens. That discourages people from wanting to come back and try and attend another event here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So that goes back to traffic control a little bit.
Yes,
Infrastructure more than traffic control, because there's no amount of flaggers that fix the fact we have one way across town.
Say that again, please.
There are no amount of flaggers that fix the fact we have one way to get across town.
Yeah, but how do we change that?
I think that's the hope is to just kind of pop out the questions and then we dive.
All
into
right, sorry, that's,
it.
I always want to get it deeper.
Afterwards.
No, that one, let's fix that one.
That's not your problem, Miranda.
Miranda, I'm waiting my
I
turn.
know, thanks, Ron. Thanks for
Yeah.
following. Just a recommendation.
Everybody else is doing what you accused me of.
I'm sorry.
Apologies for being tardy. Glad to be here. It's nice to see everybody in person also. I'm jumping in, so I might not have the full question in, but it sounds like the DDA wants to focus on what we're already working on. I would really like to see a strong focus on finishing up the signage that we've been working on and finishing up the signage and making sure that our streets are in usable condition. I think that is going to be paramount to having good business. I really love the idea of the Riverwalk because that would involve artwork. And for me, the only reason why I would ever go to a big city or a small city is to see artwork or visit family. So those are my priorities.
Danielle.
Yeah, that's what I have in my mind.
Tanya?
All right, I definitely agree with the more artwork. I love what the Public Arts Committee has been doing, and I know that they're really active and you guys are doing stuff. So that fully support, and the Riverwalk idea, it sounds really nice, to get more people walk in and off First Street. I just wanted to reiterate, I'm way into the concert series, and that is a trial run. So I would be happy to help with that if anybody needed help with that. I had some ideas and I forgot. I think we have a lot of
Do more
parking
round.
problems, and that's not necessarily our problem, but parking. The town people don't stop if they can't park and they can't spend money if they don't park. So I don't know the solution either for that, but if there's any way we could help town come up with any, it would be good.
Okay.
Sorry, sir.
Okay. I'm
Your
gonna-
turn. Your turn again. We're going round
Okay.
2.
Statute gives the DEA a lot of tools. We're just using one of them. We're handing out money. Doesn't matter what it is, we're handing out money. We can loan money. If we see a project that we want to, we can invest in property. We can lease the property we invest in. We can create partnerships. I think some of our events need to give us a piece of the action, if there is a piece. Okay, now they might default and we lose money, but my opinion is what the statute gives us is a lot of tools, and we're just being overall way too damn generous. We need to think a little bit differently in terms of the return to the town and the business community on what those individual events can be and do. No, I'm not saying any of these projects are bad. I definitely want to continue with all the things we've planned and finish them. I really like to see things get finished, but in terms of new projects and how we focus on them and how we identify what our part is going to be, I think we need to take out more of the tools in the toolbox and consider them. Because I think if we take all the risk by just handing out the money, we take all the loss. And I'm kind of looking at some of this stuff as an actual loss.
What?
Well,
Oh, sorry. No, no, keep, next time.
Just trying,
Yeah.
just trying to create a little structure.
We need to leverage our money as opposed to give it away.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay?
got it.
Now, and I'm not saying everything's a loser by any means, whatever. But there's different ways to do things. I mean, if we have differences in events with different needs, somebody wants $10,000 grant, how about 4,000 out of it as a loan? I mean, if you really, you know, I'm the guy that pushed the traffic control.
I like that.
And it took a long time to get it through the board. But that's something I think we found out is needed.
Yeah.
And it makes the event more successful because we can allocate the resources for parking. I mean, Ned Gravel's parking plan was excellent. They worked it just right. There were no jams. They had it well done. At Snyder and 119, they had 3 people working there. It just worked like clockwork. Okay, that I think on our part was a good investment. Yeah, but what Steve had to say in terms of his company donating around $2,000 worth of stage is what I think the rental for those would be, to have everybody walk off and not participate produced a loss. So, yeah, I'm all for Scott's idea of we try something, we work at it and see what it's gonna produce and what the statute tells us we're supposed to be doing. And giving away the money is only one aspect. We're allowed to do that. We can do that. But let's take some more of those tools and make them work for us. And I'll just toss one out and then I'm done.
We'll keep going.
I want to buy a cardboard compactor and have everybody on First Street put their cardboard in it and then bail it up and sell it. How long will it take to pay for a cardboard compactor and where we put it? Those are all details.
Where do they take the cardboard now? Up to the?
No, they take it up to the
Green box.
center.
Okay, so it gets
Doesn't
full.
matter what they do. I mean,
Okay.
I'm saying this is something everybody's wrestling with. Every restaurant has a pile of cardboard that isn't knocked down in the back of the place. It's trip over. They had a central place and I want everybody to buy into it. I don't want the DDA to buy the compactor. I want everybody to say, yeah, I'm willing to participate and I'll throw money on too. This is the partner aspect of the toolbox. Why should we, as the DDA, provide the entire downtown with a service that they're already paying more money for? They get it cheaper. Or even if we made it break even, but the DDA puts up half, everybody on the block puts up the other half.
I don't want to get into discussion about it. 'Cause I got
I'm done.
questions.
I'm done, but
Okay, Rob.
All right.
Andrew, anything coming to round 2?
Yeah, I think this somewhat is, relates to a little bit what everyone has said, but I think, through the paradigm of like destination Nederland and the fact that we all live here and we know it's busy in the summer. And as I've heard earlier in the meeting, there's only one first impression. I think, one thought that kind of has come as I've been in a different city looking at different things where there's a big presence of traffic control and cleanliness. Not that Netherlands dirty, but we could always do better. And bathrooms, and just whether it's in the summer, when we know it's going to be busy and we want to be a destination, and whether we're, as we're talking about more events or more things, what about just more general temporary infrastructure, be it traffic control, parking management, kind of information, visitor center help.
Do you say for like high season?
I'd call it for high season,
Okay.
from May, but I mean, we kind of have a,
We have-
there's ski season, which also counts. And then there's, the lull of March and April. And then really, in a normal non-rainy year, it picks up. So, just seeing that and saying, what if we had some more bathrooms, more, and helped town staff with bathroom cleaning and maintenance, and because they do a great job on the limited permanent bathrooms that are around, but also flaggers and or parking management and information and just general like, yeah, okay, that's a labor cost and a infrastructure cost, but really to just help things run smoother and, be cleaner. Not that the Netherlands filthy, but maybe part of this is like a general trash cleanup of, someone's, only they're hired and their only job is to go around and pick up random things that have blown off into the street sweeping and cleaning. And so what am I saying? Just like a budget to help with town first impression, be it bathrooms, be it traffic, be it parking, be it information, be it helping the businesses that are bringing influx of people. So I don't really know what to call that other than facilities maintenance infrastructure, you know
Temporary infrastructure, that kind of.
something, but I think you guys get the general idea. Additional help for town staff, private businesses, and restrooms, additional hand washing stations, trash, etc. that happens during high season, because when you are in a place and when there are people, not necessarily flaggers, but kind of like I'd call them private, well, I guess that'd be a flagger, but um but looking a little more, maybe in addition to helping with parking and traffic, they're also information officers, and maybe that sounds a little corny, but something like that.
Can I ask you a question, Andrew?
Yeah.
You think it would be in the purview of the DDA to work with the town to get a individual who monitors as a so-called meter maid to
Yeah, I mean, I think helping, like, this is I'm trying to think of like a person that I would want to see if I wasn't from this, that was maybe kind of a meter maid, but not so much where they weren't just writing out tickets. They were more of a, they functioned as like an information officer, flagger, and could potentially be I wouldn't necessarily want them to just have the ability, or maybe even any ability to uh, do a penalty, but more just by their presence and them being engaged with who's coming, who's going, what's happening.
So you're
That,
talking about like an ambassador.
an ambassador,
flagger,
yeah.
goodwill ambassador, yes.
Yeah, and
Ambassador, yeah.
I think some towns call them public safety officers.
Yeah.
But
yeah, a public safety officer that can kind of, just by them being there and saying, hey, this is parking for these businesses only. If you need to, what do you want to do? Where I want to help you get what you need. Like you need to go there, you need to park there, etc.
Time's up, Ralph.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, yeah, stop that here. Barb, anything coming to mind round two?
Nope.
I got myself on my wrist.
I mean, we have a lot to like tie up.
Right, so that's the whole point though, is to just throw it all out and then
Yeah.
we'll start to carve it down. But we kind of, the way Nicole's handled this today is like, make sure you have not left anything that you wish you would have said. Ideally, when we walk out of this room, you would have thrown your ideas out on the table, so.
I think all of the stuff that we've been talking about, the performance space and the other things, those are like, I can't think of adding anything to
Okay.
that list at this point. I think we have plenty on the list.
Sure.
So,
One thing I just want to say, what I'm doing as you all are talking is correlating it into the strategic plan. Everything that you're talking about is in here. It's in here, and you're talking about the same things, and and so I think it's really interesting to hear how they're all tying to it, because everything is in one way or another. There's ways in the plan. Just because I read through it again today, very interesting.
Yeah.
But I just want to point that out, that these aren't so far reaching. They make sense in the plan.
Okay, cool. Steve.
I think this is woven into some other stuff, but just parking. And like wayfinding doesn't solve parking. Parking spaces, like
They're-
net new parking spaces.
It could, I mean, they're all over the place,
Yeah.
but it's still like, how is that app? Like, there's 6 spots here, there's 4 there, like, it's still not.
It's that ability to have people know that when they come to Nederland, that if they came up here to go to XYZ, that they feel like they have confidence that they're gonna be able to make it through town, park, and go to where they need to. And I think that that's pretty questionable sometimes, like Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I just think parking, and that's something that I know personally, Eldora spent a decade focused on parking, right? And I think last year, hopefully the things that we did there, some of the challenges that used to flow over into town, like be less, but I think that town has some opportunities to look at how is parking functioning or not in town, and what options are there for people to park? What options are there for employees of businesses to park? And where is prime parking so that businesses have accessible spots when
Yeah,
people show
I mean,
up?
I think that paid parking, 2-hour parking is probably the solution. Because so many people just, I see it, they just stay all day in one spot, and they're not in town, they're out hiking, they carpool with a friend, you know?
And be careful now.
I know, but how do you get the people who are here hiking with their friend and carpool to the trailhead and have their car parked in First Street all day?
I know that's a problem, but another unintended consequence of that is when people show up, they gotta be leaving in 2 hours, they'll stop showing up. There's a lot of
Well,
those people.
somebody else will show up who wants to shop and park in that spot. That's.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, I don't know, but yeah, we're in discussion now, but yeah.
May I present something? I just ordered 5 copies of a new book. There's a picture of it. The title of it is Paved Paradise, How Parking Explains the World by Henry Graybar. So by Monday, I'll have 5 copies of that. Anybody wants to borrow a copy is welcome to. That's why I bought them, because I agree with you, Steve. And parking is one of our major issues.
I mean, short of making new lots, I mean, with the spots that exist.
Got parking on list.
Yeah, you know, when I think about the businesses in this town and I think about what their limitations are, I think parking is one that we all talk about all the time. But the bigger limitation on our businesses in this town is they can't find enough people to work the jobs.
Workforce.
Because we don't have room for those people to live around here. It's not worth it for them to drive 45 minutes or even a half hour to do an hourly job. And so that is the biggest limitation on our businesses, bar none. When even the best businesses in town don't open every day, and they would if they were in Boulder or if they were anywhere else, that is our number one limitation.
But that's not us, we can't create housing.
It isn't a DDA issue, it's
No.
a community issue.
Yeah,
But I think.
or maybe we can.
I think it would be naive and it would be foolish for us to not at least acknowledge it as something that all of our businesses have to deal with. So, you know, as we talk about parking, we have to talk about this too. And maybe at some point in time, you know, the town, the community, we come up with solutions. And I know that there's a lot of survey activity going on right now. I just think it deserves as much or more attention in parking.
One thing maybe I'll just say really quick and something I talked to Barb and Kate, and I would assume everyone agrees, is what I built for ProSab is here's what's on the board's agenda, upcoming agenda for the next, between now and your next meeting. And here's how I believe it ties to the DDA, because I do think that there's value in the DDA showing up in more of the board of trustee conversations, because as they tackle housing, the DDA needs to weigh in on all those matters. And so I'll start sending those out. That's like, here's what the DDA is doing over the next 3 meetings, and here's why I think that NDD, or here's what the BOT is doing, here's why I think the DDA would care about this specific item.
Right, and I think it is important to have the DDA's perspective because we speak for the health of the businesses. And if that is the biggest limitation on even our best local businesses, then for us to go out and have a little festival that might generate $200 worth of revenue once a year is like,
Yeah.
it's like putting paint over a severed limb. It's silly, right? We should have an opinion.
Thanks, Gus. Catherine?
I mean, he's right, and, you know, I kind of sitting there and saying, like, in a business, say it's a restaurant, they can't charge $60 for a hamburger to be able to offer the wages to an employee that let them live here. I get paid what an insurance company says my services are worth, and I can't get more. But that could mean that I'm paying my staff more by the hour than I'm making by the hour for what an insurance company will pay for the services I'm rendering. And that's a real present problem. I know every business, you know, deals with it in one form or another. And so unless we can figure out, I don't know what, you know, how to have affordable housing for employees, but then that doesn't guarantee that your employee that already bought a house and has a mortgage is gonna move into affordable housing, and now they can take the salary that you can pay to stay in business. Or if there's some way to get grants to businesses to, you know, work on grant writing for businesses so that the businesses can somehow supplement, so that they can staff. I mean, I don't know.
So on that subject, when I moved up here from Boulder, Nederland provided me with a free bus pass, and that was phenomenal. And there might be a way to offer that in reverse, where if there are some people who are on lower income are working up here, that they could have a free bus pass that gets them to work. I do think parking is a huge thing.
We have the Eco Pass.
Yeah.
Not for net businesses, I guess, so to be in the
A
resident.
If to live.
Oh.
But that's what we were talking about last night.
There is the ability through the county to access, if you are low income, there are services available through the county that could link people up with that.
But we think there will be a ballot measure that asks the
Yeah.
EcoPass district if you're willing, if you support extending the program to employees of Nederland businesses.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And then that might help, and every little bit helps.
Yeah.
The parking that we just finished over by the Black Forest has been awesome. Seeing the people working up there and parking there and leaving more spaces for visitors to come has made a difference. We are still low foot traffic as a new business at the gallery, but Kay, who's next door, who's been there for 3 years, has excellent foot traffic. So I know that as a new business, it's just getting the word out there. I really like the idea of the, the engagement with Peter, which helps announce what's going on. Share what's going on, connect what's going on. I admit I'm not great at reading the paper. I am addicted to social media, and it does really help. But I do hear 50-50 people saying if you don't read the paper, you miss out, and then other people who catch everything online. So I really love seeing that those are being integrated more and more and learning how to fuck with that. Kind of break it.
Guys, I have to bow out tonight. I really appreciate all the
Thank you.
the strategy, and thank you. Looking forward to continuing this, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
I also need to go in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, I just think about like the Black Forest sitting there empty and how that, why couldn't that be a bunch of condos or low income housing or something like?
Have you met Chiba?
Yeah, why town, and this is going back to BOT and our zoning conversations that we're gonna have in the future, but I feel like you shouldn't allow something like that to occur in the downtown district of an empty, viable location under permanent construction for the end of time. And when we start having these conversations, I don't know what it's gonna be, that's gonna be something I'm gonna be really adamant about putting something in our code that doesn't allow that to happen. Because every time I drive by there, I get really angry because that could be so many things for our community
Nice living.
and it's nothing. Yeah. And that's not really part of the DDA. I just want to throw it out there because I'm like,
It needs over $1 million worth of work. When I was managing the
Yeah.
property was when he bought that. And what was damaged then has been way farther damaged now.
oh, sure, it's sitting there.
Right, so,
But-
but they are starting work this month.
Okay, good to see.
Yeah, I don't know
Okay.
what they're gonna put in there, but they are starting work this month. They have finally got the gas line approval to get the gas line buried that was dug up during some other process at the one entrance. So he is working on it. But yeah, he doesn't mind leaving stuff empty. He'd rather
Well,
leave it
no,
empty than.
it's not. It's a, sure,
Well,
it's
yeah,
sort of tax
it's a write-off.
situation, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think Netherlands should be a tax write-off for anybody. I'm afraid of that could happen. We got Neds now sitting completely vacant and getting dilapidated as we speak. When's, you know, I just feel like, sure, you gotta give people time to get things fixed, but I don't know. There should be a limit. I mean, Neds is also, we can't, this prime location and makes me upset. But, so I agree, housing is a big issue. I don't know, again, it's not our purview, but maybe it could be, I don't know.
Almost no mountain town has figured it out.
Yep.
No, I mean, I like, you know, like Steamboat took all their hotels and turned it into, you know, studios.
Yeah.
But, you know, now they don't have a hotel, so I don't know how that's working out. But, we don't have that. We don't have the hotels anyway to do that, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, like Barb said, we have a lot to chew on already. So if we could just get any of those things done in the next couple of years, we would feel pretty good about ourselves.
So Ron, I'm just wondering from a time standpoint, do people feel like they've put their kind of initial thoughts out there? Anyone, any burning statements that they really want to say? Or do you feel like this is a good step in what we'll drill into it way more? And you've obviously captured it, but do you feel like we're good to call it, or does anyone have anything else?
Well, give me 2 more minutes. I think we need a session only, or maybe 2 sessions to talk about parking and bring your cab, due notice of when they're gonna be, so we all know that session's gonna be on parking, and bring your ideas, because I have a lot and I want to give you the books that I've had. So people really, it's a complex issue.
There are a lot of ideas, but didn't town staff say they don't have any time to create the parking that was suggested
Well,
by?
You recommended waiting for the multimodal transportation plan to
Right,
start
that
and end.
doesn't mean we can't have a
We
discussion.
can have the conversations, but I think until, with regards to the building, we want to make sure that all the respective plans run their course.
But yeah, we can definitely have a discussion.
Okay,
There was a suggestion from Nicole, to have another meeting, like the next meeting of this, possibly, August 23rd, which is a Wednesday.
Is that our regular
6 to
meeting?
8, no, it would be 2 weeks after our regular.
Oh,
So
that's fine, I'm for it.
anyways, she was suggesting that as a possibility if anyone wanted to.
This August 23rd, right?
Quick vote, how many people would like to do
I
that?
think it was it was August 23rd at 6 PM. Because of other stuff that's going on in town, that was like the next available, I think, for her. So that was to have the next step of this or a budget workshop.
Because our August meeting is gonna have some big stuff, potentially with wayfinding, with performance space, the budget, we have to start the budget. So those could be a lot. Wayfinding, I don't think will be too time intensive, but it will be some amount of time. You know, it's not gonna be 15 minutes, you know, so I just wanted to be thoughtful of that. So that's why I thought maybe pulling, it out this way would be helpful, and maybe it is the budget becomes a special session if we feel like August gets too much.
Right.
That we could start it there and then have a special.
August 23rd is the planning commission, so we
Oh.
can't host you hybrid.
Okay.
And you also wouldn't have access to the stream.
Okay,
So I think.
I would like to see like a document with what we've talked about today.
Okay.
And maybe get some email feedback before we have a meeting. I don't know if it needs to be 2 hours long of a meeting.
no, so that's the thing, I think now that we've drilled through so much of this, I think our hope is that it could be a little bit more streamlined, and I have been digesting as you guys have been talking, and I'm gonna send out like what you're saying, like, here's what I heard, here's where these all fit.
Yeah.
This is where I'm seeing that you wanna fund, because obviously you're staying right in the same areas that you're talking about, except for parking. You wanna start looking at parking more and that, but anyways, I'll get into
Yeah.
that with the follow-up from the meeting and then I'll do the doodle poll for a time that works for everybody.
And the chair, training session is next week.
Yeah.
So
But actually, we're gonna have to move that because of the fire chief selection is happening next week.
Okay,
Okay,
so that meeting is.
well, but you'll want.
But Ron,
About that.
we are asking that all chairs and vice chairs of the board come together for a board leadership session. And we're gonna move that to Thursday, August 3rd. So we would like you and Andrew present as the chair and vice chair of this board.
And I'll be there too.
And we're gonna be talking about, effective role procedures of boards, conflicts of interest, just board dynamics. How to,
7 o'clock.
we are gonna do 6 o'clock, 6 to 8. And I'll send a calendar invite. I'll update it. It was supposed to be next. Yeah, that's all, because I'm.
Okay.
Is that it?
I think that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi. Hi, Danielle's mom. What's
Thanks for
what's
visiting.
Danielle's mom's name?
Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Bye, Danielle.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.
Got
Might wanna
10
go-
minutes we can talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.